Very much. Now, a woman from Sudan who's been granted permission to live in Northern Ireland has told this programme that she feels like she's failing her children after being told they need to leave their emergency accommodation this weekend. Afraa Ahmed, who's a civil engineer in her home country, has been living here for 16 months and spent that time in a hotel room with her two sons.
She's now been given the right to stay in Northern Ireland. As a result, she had to leave the hotel, which is managed by the Mayor's Group. That's an organisation which provides accommodation on behalf of the Home Office for people trying to claim asylum. So this happened at the end of last month. Afraa's since been placed into emergency accommodation by the housing executive. It's another hotel, and she's been told she needs to leave it by this weekend. She says she has nowhere else to go. I've been to meet Afraa, who started by telling me about her time in Northern Ireland over the last year.
We are already coming with a traumatic situation. We're already suffering from many things, and it's continuous here. So I'm kind of person who's have this kind of dreams about the futures. I'm very ambitious about building a new life and a good future for my kids. I can't just sit and doing nothing and expect that I can find a job easily when I get my paper. So I'm trying to be proactive and plan for after 4 or 5 months with no any housing offered to me. I'm start to thinking about building a life. Applied for the college in Belfast to continue my career endeavour. Previously in my home country, I'm civil engineer. My kids, my eldest son, have a 11 plus exam, and the school trying to help us to settle and understand their traumatic situation. My kids, when they came here, they didn't speak English at all. Now they speak fluently. After staying all this time, I watched the people around me offered more than one time houses. For me, I would never offered any house. They never offered me any house to move. And after 13 months, they asked me to move from this room to very small room with my 2 children. And they said for me, we want this room for newcomers. They didn't take care of my kids' mental health or what they can feel after all this time. It's only one room. And after that, I went to them, asked them to give me the eviction letter. Now I get my paper. I just want you to give me the eviction, the discontinuing letter to apply for the housing executive. And normally they give the people 7 days minimum, 28 days maximum. But for me, I asked them on 27th of February and then they asked me to come and take the letter on 28th, in the afternoon of 28th. And they expected me to move from the temporary accommodation on 4th of March. 28th is Thursday. So I have only Thursday, the rest of the Thursday day and Friday. The only thing I worried about, and I think most of the people understand me because most of you is a parents and they know what the situation is for the kids. They already being through a very hard time and they have to continue this hard life. To be honest, sometimes I feel I'm not good mother because I can't offer my kids a secure life, a normal life like any kids. I'm not a high-minded person. I just want us to settle and build a life. I want to have a job. I want to be a role model for my children because the only thing I worried about is to prepare my kids to be a very good people in this community. Any mother or father dreams about bright future for their children. Clearly, to my situation, I don't know how can I do this. I don't know. Because sometimes it's not my fault to be a woman from third country or have a dictatorship government or they have an inferior look for the women or I am a black woman from Africa. This is not something that I do it by myself. The only thing that I can do is to try to find a secure life for my children, which is I failed to do it.
And what's your understanding now in terms of the accommodation you're in? You're in a different hotel now than you were. And when does that come to an end in terms of this accommodation being provided for you?
Yeah, I went to the housing executive on the afternoon of 28th. They said to me, there's no any availability of the houses here, so we will put you in a temporary accommodation. A temporary accommodation for a mom with 2 children. I mean, it's
this hotel room is a temporary accommodation?
Yeah, it's a temporary. It's emergency, but they don't sure about how long. It may long for days, it may long for weeks, it may long for months. And to just find some solutions, I went to the reception lady. I asked about the people here, if there is any kind of direct lane for the buses, because I want to take my kids for their school. As you saw, I'm trying to just make them to follow.
They're doing some work in the hotel room, some school work,
They already have these gaps. I want to fill these gaps. My son is eager about have the transfer exam. There is no any direct bus lane. If you want to head to any bus lane, it's about 30 minutes walk. I don't have car. There is no any nearby shop. There is no laundry. And the very, very hard thing that I've been through today, my kids are hungry. And I went to the restaurant. I think that it's a bed and breakfast. And I surprised there is no breakfast. I have to pay for the breakfast. I don't know what I have to do for the dinner or for lunchtime. And there's no only grocery to bring to my kids anything. And even, which is make it worse, I have to leave this accommodation on Saturday and Sunday. Find anyone to stay with them, because this be very busy during the weekend. So verbally, I will be homeless on Saturday.
Sorry, you have to leave for the weekend.
Yeah. So I don't know what I have to do exactly. These few days may ruin the whole future for us. May ruin my studying on the college. May ruin my kids' exams time, and even their mental health, because they already been through many difficulties. I don't know anything about politics. I don't know anything about what's the situation here. I'm only moms for 2 children, dream about normal life for them. And I failed to do this.
I mean, Richard, it's such a difficult listen, and so difficult for the position that Afraa finds herself in, and how it's almost like the system is working against her without, a system can't work against somebody, but it's almost...
There's a bit of irony, I think, from talking to her, that she for so long wanted to get her status, that she could stay in Northern Ireland. And once she got that, she had to leave the accommodation she was in, the government accommodation, and has now found herself in another hotel. But actually that situation is not secure, and as you heard her say there, we're going to be homeless this weekend. Saturday morning, she has to leave this hotel and doesn't know where her or her 2 boys are going to go until she gets something more permanent arranged through the housing executive.
Well, let's get some of the responses, because obviously we've spoken to all of the official authorities who are involved in this, and mayors who run the hotel said that when a decision has been reached on a claim by the Home Office and leave to remain is granted, people have the right to work, claim benefits and access support for housing. The statement goes on to say that mayors is contractually required to give notice to the service user to move on from accommodation, and mayors makes a referral to the housing executive regarding future housing, and they follow all their requirements when arranging moves from accommodation.
So Afraa has left the mayor's accommodation, is now in housing executive accommodation, and a spokesperson has told us that we appreciate the prospect of homelessness is very stressful for any family. We're aware of this case, and one of our housing advisors has already carried out an assessment. The housing executive says at this time we are looking for suitable homes for the family in the areas they would like to live. Meanwhile, we are currently arranging temporary accommodation, but as it stands, that doesn't seem to be in place.
And a government spokesperson said, we're committed to ensuring asylum claims are correctly decided without unnecessary delays on an individual, objective and impartial basis, and we're working with local authorities to manage the impact of asylum decisions.
We're approaching 5 o'clock and lots of talk about